Okay.
There you go.
I feel so highlighted. I'm ready.
Thank you, Jonathan. We just
You're
appreciate
welcome.
it. I know you're very, very busy and you're leaving what, Thursday for Israel?
Thursday, yes. I'll update you guys a little bit. So, first, greetings from a car in Charleston. I have a daughter who got married and is kind of alone in a new city with a birthday coming up. So, I said we'll go up and visit and then driving back to Birmingham and flying out on Thursday to Israel. So, let me share with you guys a little bit about the purpose of the trip, and then that will connect with the Leadership Institute and what we're doing. So, I typically go over to host two tours and have a third trip that's a business trip. And this is just going and connecting with the team. Well, on our last David's Mighty Warriors tour in August, there was a church pastor that came with us who has a multi site church, 6 campuses out of Vancouver, British Columbia. And he was impacted by the time and said, I'm going to send a group from my church to help get the property ready, the Leadership Institute. So we talked through the details and we paired it up with this business trip that I'm taking. So I've got 9 guys in tow from one church. And what they're going to be doing is focusing on getting the property ready for our grand opening. We have put down the dates of April 28th as a grand opening, which is going to coincide with the History Makers tour. This trip is going to be right on the front of a congressional tour that's going over. And we thought, man, this would be great if Congress is able to come over. Let's make sure that they go by the Leadership Institute, and we'll have just done all kinds of work on it with these guys. Over 10 guys for 4 days can do a pretty big hit on this property. So what our plan is they've donated a significant amount of money to plant lots of trees, to work on all the terraces, because we're really trying to beautify the outside areas. Meanwhile, the reconstruction project is happening with our inside meeting area. And it's the Coastal Church Group, for that somebody who just asked, with David Koop as the pastor. And we're going to make sure that we've got inside areas as well as outside areas to meet and do our programming. And that's pretty mission critical, because if you think about, the National Leadership Center has a lot of the high ropes courses. These activities in the curriculum are going to focus a lot on the low ropes courses, which means we need open space to do a lot of the different activities and to tweak the leadership curriculum that we have at the NLC to deploy here at the Institute. And so I was on the phone with Iran um, 2 hours ago and just said, okay, first off, I know you updated them yesterday. He told me about Tu B'Shvat and the festival that they're in. But I wanted to speak specifically to the Leadership Institute and what activities he's been able to land. So think that we're going to have small little pilot programs until a bigger opening on March 1st. And he has talked with the ministry, or sorry, the municipality in Jerusalem. He has confirmed that 60 different schools are going to send around 2,000 students through the Leadership Institute. We also are going to be able to send in the municipality 55 of our trainers to their schools. So we kind of have a two-way street here. They're coming to us to do our activities, which are the low ropes and leadership curriculum. We are going to the schools to do the escape room curriculum. And it's quickly becoming a pretty big presence there. And it's very exciting. But, the big thing that we all need to be praying into is, okay, we need our leadership development program, this Nakshan trainers, as well as some full time staff to really raise up and say, okay, I could take some of that load, because Iran is really spread thin, trying to ensure that the NLC is going as normal and then make sure all the launch. I mean, it's easy to go in and say, we'll do it. You got to have a product that's worthwhile doing. And so we really, really don't want to cannibalize all of the activity that's happening over at the National Leadership Center. So we're trying to create the differentiation between what you'll get at the Leadership Institute, what you'll get at the NLC, and of course, the experience that you'll have at the schools, because it would really be nice to have a progression. You get exposed at the school. Why don't you come to the Leadership Institute? Why don't you come to the NLC? So you have multiple touch points and therefore more impact. So my trip is focused on property readiness and the development of the outside spots. I really need you guys to pray in for safety on that time. I mean, we don't know what the U.S. is going to do to Iran and what they would be able to retaliate while we're in country. We've got a bit of a plan for how we would get out, but I'm just believing that just as they live there and they don't have the option to leave, we can go there and we can bless and build and do our thing. And if needed, we'll figure out a way out. Um, but then secondarily is that my presence there and the time with the trainers, time with the leadership is really about, okay, what are the move next and then the following two moves so that Iran really gets the support he needs. And of course, I can't go find a candidate. I can interview and talk with some people, but I can the biggest thing is really infuse some energy and some life and passion and kind of bring Heather's heart for what we're doing to the younger groups so they really recognize they're a part of something big. This is how God's on the move, from the far shores of the US and how we're seeing it, and then figuring out how best to support them as we take this next new endeavor and, the subsequent steps. So, Sharon,
Yeah, let me
yeah,
ask you one
fire some
question.
questions.
Yeah, on this 2,000 students from the 60 schools, did I hear that right?
Correct.
They're coming to the Leadership Institute.
Correct.
And when will that start?
That'll start March 1st.
Okay.
So, it's kind of like you have the beginning launch, the soft launch, and then the grand launch. Our grand opening, during the History Makers tour is really when we make the big hoopla and we invite the paper and we're going to try and have Gideon Saar and Naftali Bennett and others speak, and that will bring a lot of notoriety. We're going to have the March 1st launch. And that's really when those schools start coming and there's a steady pipeline. We're trying to get a few schools in before to kind of just stress test things, make sure the trainers, understand the flow, the lay of the land, where we store the gear, all that type initial work, and then just build.
Okay, and are these seniors that are fixing to go into the IDF? Is that what these students are?
I would imagine he didn't tell me if it's juniors or seniors, but it's definitely the upperclassmen.
Okay. All right. Well, awesome. Anybody, if you have a question, put it in the chat real quick. But yeah, thank you for these prayer points. We'll definitely get on that today. And anything else?
Well, Jen, my wife's like, really? You're going to be over there? That there's a potential bombing? So, I think spouses and family are always going, is that the safest? And I'm like, it's really not the safest, but we're not going for just playing it safe. We're going for if the Lord's instructed us and we feel the plan is this path, we're going to continue on that plan until it really is evident that we're not. So, I just want you guys to also be praying for just the discernment to go, hey, we haven't had the travel warnings, which basically say don't go to the region. Um, so therefore, I'm inviting a group that's never been there, and there's just a lot of trust in our organization and me that we've got a plan, and so we just want to be wise, but also be confident and bold as we're going.
Well, yesterday when Iran was on, Dakota was on also, and he talked about how that people ask him all the time. Um, we're fixing to, probably go into a war. Why don't you go home? Why are you staying? And I was like, tell him your answer. And so he talked about, he goes, I have a deep love This is what he tells people. He said it depends on who I'm talking to, like whether it's a Gen Zer or a older person, but he goes, it's something like this, that I have a deep love for Israel, for the land, for its people. And I want to be immersed into your culture so that I can understand and that I can talk to others better about what you're going through. And whether you're at peace or at war, I need to be here so I can understand better. So
It's a
tell,
great answer. Yes.
yeah, so tell Jen.
That's right. That's right. Well, this morning after her time with the Lord, she's like, he just kind of put his finger and said, hey, I've called him to this. So, you
Well,
know,
and I have to remind myself, and so
we
does
all do, don't we?
Dad, every day of this answer,
Yeah,
and just trust the Lord and
that's
pray
right.
Psalm 91. We're just being vulnerable here for a minute, y'all.
Yep. Yep. It's the truth.
It's so true. That is so great. Well, thank you so much. I know you're busy and I know you've got a lot to do. I am going to ask, Mark, would you pray over this trip? And would you pray for Jonathan and just, all of the relatives that, when you go, you need that prayer covering and just pray for his wife Jen and their kids and that, it's just going to be it's just a such a time of trusting in the Lord, and it is a walk by faith, not by sight. So, anyway, let's go into our prayer time. Let me see. There is a couple of questions before. How does the government support or promote your work? So you can talk about that, Jonathan.
Okay. Israeli government or Vancouver's?
I'm
Israeli
assuming,
government.
yeah, okay.
Okay. Um, So, if you're talking about the leaders that are coming to help endorse during the grand opening, they've recognized the impact that we're having by helping write curriculum and reinstituting the Old Testament exposure into the schools. That that's the reason that the doors are flinging wide open, even in Jerusalem, for us to be involved. We've got partnerships with the Ministry of Education and Ministry of Defense, which are the two largest budget line items for Israel. So when we're in through that avenue and we're a program delivery agent, um, it's a massive level of endorsement. And that's really where the term institute, for us, we're like, oh, it's an institute. But for them, that means it's an official endorsement with a very small group being able to provide that level of training. There's only 80 institutes in all of Israel, and to get that really is an honor. So that's what I would say. It's no small thing when we got that declaration because from a practical standpoint, we were able to serve from captains and upwards in the military. But when we got the institute status, we're able to do privates and sergeants, which, of course, that's the bigger body if you think of it, a triangle of people.
Yeah. Okay. There was one more question. I think this is coming from, it says, will the group going with you have an opportunity to go around Israel, see the land, and go back with a good report? And I think when that 1,000 pastors went over to Israel, they didn't interact with the people, and that was, they said, a big miss for that group.
Uh-huh.
So just answer.
Yeah, fair question. So I've built this where we're going to have 3 days of work at the Leadership Institute in Jerusalem. And then in the evenings, we'll go into Jerusalem and see some of the sites. On the fourth day, we're going to go to the National Leadership Center, work there, and we're going to have interaction with the Nakshan trainers. We're going to all eat lunch together. We're going to hear from them. So they're going to get that interaction. And then I'm going to take the group and we're going to go north to Caesarea and have a day around the Sea of Galilee. Um, Coming back to Tel Aviv, flying out the following day. So it's a pretty quick trip, but we've continued to balance we're here to serve on a missions trip. We're going to do that in the day. In the evening, we're going to shoot in and basically do the tunnel tour or the city of David. And our one day in the Galilee, we're going to pack it in. So we're driving there the night before. They're excited to go through the baptismals, Magdala, the Mount of Beatitudes, Capernaum. And then on our way back, we're going to show them Caesarea and have our final celebratory dinner there.
Awesome. Okay. Oh, thank you so much. All right, Mark, you want to